All right, what's up, everyone? Happy Saturday. Hopefully you're all having a wonderful weekend. And it seems as if the cold has returned yet again, unfortunately. I think it's not even 20 degrees, maybe like 18 degrees. I was looking on my weather app, and it said it's going to get down to about 16 degrees tonight. So with the wind chill, you can only imagine how cold that's going to be. But it is what it is. Lance is here, Alan, sunshine after rain, Steve, what's going on? Ibrahim Azam, Jack. Good to see all of you. We're all the way on the west side tonight. If I kind of pull off to the side here, have a pretty cool view of the New York Times building here, which is looking great. But it is a cold winter, as Alan has pointed out. Well, let me see if I can fix something real quick, because I feel like the picture is slanted sideways. Give me a second. Is that a little bit better? I feel as it was off balance. Anyway. Lena Sandoval, good to see you. We're on 8th Avenue tonight. It's a pretty quiet night for a Saturday, but probably due to the freezing temperatures. Felix is what the groundhog say, early spring. Man, I hope so. I mean, I don't know if this is factually correct, but man, this winter has been brutal. This has been really below average temperatures from what I remember. It's usually not this cold in New York. The winters that I remember are usually, 30s, mid-30s, very low 40s, but to have teens and 20s all the time, I don't know. Seems a little bit abnormal to me. Solid Nate says, hello, Tom from North Dakota. Definitely familiar with the cold weather over here. I know. It's, definitely not ideal, but it is what it is. At least it's not too windy tonight. We'll see. Thomas L. says, what do you think about the oil prices and all the things happening in Russia, oil refineries? Well, we'll talk about it. I would say in most recent news, I'm sure all of you have seen, we are now kind of in a trade battle with our neighbors to the north, talking about colds. You could talk about Canada, with the 25% tariffs, and they will probably be graduated higher. It'll be interesting to see how things play out. But look, as I've said, I believe the tariffs have been pitched in a negative light. Well, I should say the incorrect way. Tariffs have been pitched incorrectly by both the right and the left. Well, let me just kind of scoot my way around here. But yeah, tariffs will create volatility for sure. That's undeniable. And it's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a one-trick pony to solve problems. And there's going to be some friction as these tariffs are implemented. So you're going to hear a lot of noise about, tariffs are making prices go up. Tariffs are making things unstable. But at the end of the day, the way I view tariffs is a negotiating standpoint that aren't necessarily guaranteed to work. So there's going to be a lot of just crazy headlines over the next few weeks about, probably see like 10 different articles saying, the cost of this went up because of the tariffs, or tariffs aren't working and this and that, you're obviously going to see some short-term volatility, right? It's short-term pain, long-term gain. But again, to be fair, there's no guarantee that it'll work. Okay, I think they will work. But the problem in politics, right, and we've talked about this before, is the following. Nobody will ever get elected. You will never get elected or win an election if you're honest. It's just the truth. Americans can't handle the truth because the truth isn't all sunshine and rainbows, right? So the way, on the Trump side of the aisle, it's we're going to slap a bunch of tariffs and everything is going to be all rosy and everything's going to be great, right? MAGA, make America great again. And on the left side of the aisle, it's, tariffs are only going to make everything more expensive. You're not going to be able to afford groceries, and it's Armageddon, right? The truth lies somewhere in the middle, okay? Now, I would say the average person, right, that just reads sound bites and doesn't really understand economics, they get kind of caught up in the hyperbolic back and forth. But a negotiation is never going to be smooth, right? You're going to have animosity. Yes, there's going to be probably volatility in prices, maybe for an extended period of time. But you kind of need a reset in a lot of these trade deals. Not to ramble on a Saturday night, but that's kind of how I view the tariffs. So, of course, there's going to be some short-term issues, but negotiations are sticky. And, there's never been a negotiation or a deal that I've done that hasn't had a hard conversation, a little bit of discomfort, in order to get to the end result. Anyway, Reggie44, what's going on? I see Alan is here. Cheers to you. John Sunderland, welcome. You is here. What's going on? Robbie Batista, good to see you, Robbie. Joel PM. 1W is here. Welcome. Peter said there needs to be a reset in trade as we have trade deficits with most of them, for sure. And another thing, maybe we'll walk through Times Square because I don't want to go too far tonight because it's a little bit too cold. Of course, everything is quote-unquote rosy, right, before you start a new negotiation. But if you go to Canada and say, we're going to slap 25% tariffs on you, you think they're just going to be, yeah, sure, this is, we agree, this is going to be great, everything is all rosy. Of course not. There's going to be back and forth, there's going to be fighting. If anybody has any experience in business or negotiating anything, when's the last time you negotiated a deal and on the other hand of the table they just rolled over and took it, right? So you're probably going to meet somewhere in the middle, right? You have an ask, which you come with an ask that is probably somewhere unrealistic what the other side of the aisle would accept, and then you meet somewhere in the middle. So this could go on for quite a long time. Nobody knows. Now, kind of shifting gears from the economic side of it, but I guess it also ties within the economic side of it. Much of the, I should say, verbiage from the Trump administration has been about stopping the flow of fentanyl through both the southern and the northern border, by the way. And until that flow of fentanyl is stopped, these tariffs will be in place. That is the one issue that I am willing personally to endure higher prices, volatility, and a degraded, I should say, quality of life in terms of price point. I'm ready to fight. I'm willing to fight for that because many of our major cities in the United States, right, let's just be honest, have turned into like a zombie apocalypse. It's true. Particularly like San Francisco, pockets of New York, You have people that have almost turned into not even people, right? That are hooked on these really, really hard drugs. And I think it killed about 80,000 Americans last year alone. So the fentanyl is horrible. So closing up that border on both sides, stopping the flow of those drugs, I think is number one priority. Because it does have a trickle-down effect on the economy, because it ravages neighborhoods, particularly, or I should say predominantly and particularly, minority neighborhoods. Right? When you have these drugs infesting your neighborhoods, what do you think the education quality is going to be? What do you think the family life is going to be? Right? It's going to be a deterioration of societal norms as you have these hard drugs destroying lives. And I've seen it firsthand. I've known people who I, went to high school with and the like. Normal people you would never know. They just fell on hard times, got hooked on fentanyl, and they're like a zombie. They're like not even a real person anymore. So I think that is top priority. And it's all coming, most of it is coming from China, smuggled through Mexico and the Canadian border. Anyway, that's my take on it. Eddie says Kensington and Philly is bad. I've never been there. JM2 says Americans have a severe alcohol and drug problem. Quinn FTBL says, Tom, you understand very little. Maybe I don't understand a lot. I don't know. It's possible. Anything's possible. Let me catch up on as many comments as I can. My hands are freezing. Life according to Theo. This is 1% of fentanyl into the USA comes from Canada. It's not about fentanyl. Trump said he would acquire Canada by economic force, and he's going for it. More work can be done at all borders, but for 1% is insane. Adam Luke's a CDN here. Our idiot politicians all want a pissing contest rather than talk about negotiating with Trump. So I'm just trying to read as many comments as I can, both agreeing and disagreeing with me, so we can get the full context. JK says Canada did not prompt this. We are neighbors, collective security. We have been turned into some sort of enemy. Type usernames as I'm hoping the market does not crash on Monday. Time for the reset, help pressure the prices. Interesting. Hey, New England Crypto, good to see you. Type usernames. Let's talk about something not controversial at all. How is the congestion pricing going? Well, maybe we can go over to congestion pricing, but I actually wanted to make a 2.5 hour segment on abortion rights, but maybe we could push that one to Monday's stream. AB Shield, what's going on? Says, Tom, have you read Trump's book about the art of the comeback? You mean the art of the deal? I haven't read Art of the Comeback. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's going on? Good to see you. Thanks for joining us on this frigid night. Joyful one, good to see you. Oh, that's right, Peter, I saw that. So Bill Ackman is looking to reincorporate Pershing Square. And that's something, that's another subject that we can go down a rabbit hole. It used to be that Delaware was the number one place to incorporate a business, but it seems as if a lot of people are reincorporating into places like Nevada and Texas. Now, I'm incorporated in New York State for my business, but yeah, we'll see. Now, I don't think Bill Ackman made a decision yet. I saw he posted a few things on X. He's debating maybe Nevada, Texas, but I don't think he's actually made the move yet. But that's going to be something interesting to see. This follows Elon Musk and Tesla as they've moved away and reincorporated. And also, I'm hearing, I don't know if this is 100% confirmed though, Meta and Mark Zuckerberg are thinking about making the move as well and reincorporating. That's a huge shift. That is a major, major shift. And that's something that I think we should all be paying close attention to. Hey, Tyler, good to see you. Happy Saturday night. Bay Poodle, thanks for joining. This is that new Rosetta Bakery. They have a really good location on the upper west side of Manhattan. Hello, Mate 2008, talking about Ireland. Now, I don't know too much about the tax policy in Ireland, but what I do know is that there's a lot of pharmaceutical companies that have very, very large footprints in Ireland. And I think that has something to do with the tax structure there. Peter says it will hurt Delaware if major corporations leave. I agree. And it's all really been due to one judge, too. So. Eddie says, I'm not far from you and it's very cold tonight. Yeah, it's crazy. It's supposed to get down into the very, very low teens. What was that? Beautiful shot of the Empire State Building outside of Salesforce Tower, CRM. Now, last week, pretty much the news that dominated Wall Street was DeepSeek, right? The Chinese AI company that everybody was freaking out about. And there's a lot of, I'm hesitant to say misinformation because it may not be misinformation. It may just be confusion. I'll formulate to mass confusion. My whole take on DeepSeek has been that we really don't know much of anything yet. And if we can't trust the GDP numbers, the economic estimates that come out of China, why is everybody taking what DeepSeek says at face value? Right? They spun up the company in a matter of months on $6 million. I didn't believe it. I don't buy it. It's possible, but I don't buy it. That brings me to my next point. There was a few posts on X over the last 2 days. David Sachs, who's now the Trump-appointed crypto czar, I think they're calling him, and he says that there's significant evidence that DeepSeek did, in fact, use a significant amount of Nvidia resources and spent billions of dollars, not millions of dollars, making this product, which I'm not even mad about because it is a good product. But to think that they were able to do it on $6 million, I don't think so. Now, as we know, due to the exporting laws, Nvidia is not even allowed to sell their chips into China. But there is speculation, and this is just from a lot of the threads that I was reading from people who are very familiar with the what's it called? The situation is that there's been a lot of sales to Taiwan, and they could potentially be smuggling the chips from Taiwan to China. It's possible. I don't know if it's true or not, but we'll see. Now, what is undeniable, if you look at Nvidia's stock, we have now closed below the 200-day moving average. For the first time, I think, in over a year. Usually, the 200-day, if we don't have a significant rally or a bounce tomorrow, that's usually a little bit of a sell signal, but we'll see. At least to take some off the table, but we did have a solid close on Friday below the 200-day. Laced Mushroom. This is Tom. DeepSeek R1 is being hosted on Microsoft's AI servers for customers. So if OpenAI owned Microsoft, believe that they wouldn't. John Sunderland says Trade Brigade said Nvidia could go much lower. It's possible. I mean, it did close below the 200. And you have a lot of these stocks really priced to perfection here. We'll see. We're now by the Steven Schwartzman building. Beautiful shot of the Chrysler. And a beautiful shot of One Vanderbilt. And also yesterday, we didn't do the stream yesterday, but there was yet another really, really heartbreaking plane accident in Pennsylvania. Just really tragic stuff. It's just, over the last few months, I mean, the amount of issues going on in aviation is really concerning. And I really, really feel for all the families that were impacted. It's really heartbreaking. Now, apparently, this was like some sort of air ambulance transport coming from Mexico. Young kid was getting treatment at a Shriners hospital. It's like super heartbreaking. There's such tragic stuff, man. It's horrible. So hopefully that's the last. Maybe we'll take a quick pit stop in Grand Central Station to kind of get out of the frigidness. This used to be the old Nat Sherman. Isn't that crazy? Now it's a legal marijuana dispensary. This used to be that beautiful, beautiful Nat Sherman building.
Where are you from?
They've at least kept a little bit of the architectural integrity intact. But yeah, that used to be the very, very famous Nat Sherman. But you know what? The New York weather has been crazy. 2 days ago, it was almost like 45 degrees and sunny. Then it was raining a little bit. Now it's back into the teens. It's crazy. Now crossing Madison Avenue. Eddie says, Tom, any idea why gas went from $2.79 to $3.09 so quickly? Well, where's the price of a gallon of gas where everybody's from here? I mean, if you look at crude oil futures, we're well below $80 a barrel. I think we're at what, 72 bucks? But if you haven't noticed, we have been in a little bit of a tit-for-tat tariff war. But crude oil is actually still in a bear market. Corey's $2.90. Damn, $4.24 in Cali. Yikes. Kathleen says $2.49 in OKC. That seems pretty cheap. Daily Watcher says $2.89 in ATL. Now, you know what's wild? A little bit of anecdotal data here. Every time I go back to Miami, and the price of gas really doesn't impact me because I have a little scooter. It takes 1 gallon of gas exactly. But I'll be up near Sunny Isles Beach, and gas will be like $3. And then I will be right down in South Beach, just on Alton Road, and it'll be almost $5 at one of the gas stations there. I have a feeling that's just them, jacking the price because they know there's a lot of tourists. They know there's a lot of wealthy people that are driving ridiculous cars that they'll just pay it. So it really depends on where you are. I'd say South Florida is probably the most diverse as it relates to the price of a gallon of gas. You could be somewhere it's dirt cheap, and you could be somewhere it's like they're pouring champagne out of the pump. Hey, what's up, Mike G? Good to see you. Did you see the Wall Street Journal article saying that Park Avenue co-ops are losing sales to new buyers? Yeah, and that's kind of something we've been talking about for quite some time. A lot of the younger millennials and Gen Z, they don't really want to live in these co-ops anymore. They want to live in newer product with a lot of amenities, right? I mean, some of the amenities that are in these new buildings are really crazy. There's like a dog spa, bowling alleys, swimming pools, saunas, yoga studios, gyms. Like the amount of amenities that are in some of the new developments, it's almost like a competition for which amenities are going to be the best. There's golf simulators, putting greens. So if you think about the spending priorities of a young person, we already know that young people tend to spend more money on experiences than physical material goods. So that in and of itself is going to make young people gravitate towards condos with, great amenities so they can hang out with their friends. So that's true. We've also talked about a specific part of the city, Sutton Place. That's really, really fallen out of fashion. That is packed with co-ops. So if you want to get a really good deal in New York City and you don't really care about the amenities and you just want a place to live, you can probably negotiate a better deal on a co-op as opposed to a new dev condo. Just to, spending habits are changing, priorities are changing, and also a lot of young people have dogs, and there's a lot of co-ops, or some of them, that have very, very strict requirements in terms of which breed you can or cannot have. So younger people just want the more flexibility, I think. Hey, what's up, Chris? Good to see you. Todd Smith's San Diego Airport. Gas is $6 a gallon. Holy crap. Well, California's always going to have more expensive fuel. Reggie44 says, anyone holding Palantir through earnings? Maybe Brad. Probably Brad has some Palantir, perhaps. We're going to go down to the dining concourse. We'll check out the Whisper Wall. I'm glad they didn't tear Grand Central Station down. They were going to tear it down. Yeah, K4, that's true. And to your point, especially in a lot of the older buildings in New York, the monthly maintenance is crazy. I mean, just a little bit, anecdotally, I had to have a service guy go out to my house. This was in Miami, Florida, just to fix something real quick for the tenant. If you want what's called like emergency service, right? Like 24-hour emergency service to have the tech, come out at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Whew, man, do they charge like a crazy pretty penny. And I understand why. I get it. But in Manhattan, it's like pulling teeth to try to get a contractor or anybody to come out and do any work on your place. And it's so expensive. It is so, so expensive now. So you could imagine some of the maintenance contracts a lot of these buildings have. They go up every year. They go up every year, and they're probably not going to go down anytime soon. I think the last time I had to get a jet, like my sewer line jetted out, and I think it was $250 just for the jet. So they're redoing this archway here. Jay, good to see you from Texas. Thanks for joining us. So I'll take you into the tracks at Grand Central. So if you were to take the Metro North, you'd come right into here. I just took the Metro North this week. Wow, nice. Matthew says we bought a home in North Carolina. moving from Georgia to be closer to my son. Love that. Well, congrats on the move. ICM 65 says my living expenses are 60% lower since I left New York City and better quality of life. I've had it with New York. Yeah, it's a tough city to live in. It can be really, really tough. I get it. I mean, I love New York. I don't think I'll ever leave, but I can definitely understand where you're coming from in terms of quality of life and cost of living. And I won't even really go into, just like a tit-for-tat quality of life, right? In terms of what you can get, right? Let's say if you want a one-bedroom apartment and your budget is $3,000 a month and you want to live in Manhattan, right? We're not talking about the boroughs. If you want to live in Manhattan and your budget is $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom apartment, it's going to be really, really hard to find something that's not very, very old. And I was talking to my buddy the other day. It's going to be like you're living like a kid, like you're living like a little college student, right? With the little dinky kitchen, the refrigerator is like one of those refrigerators that, your uncle bought you because you're going away for college and you're going to put it in the dorm, right? So the overall quality of life, even when you're spending that price tag, $3,000 for a one-bedroom apartment living in Manhattan, right? If you don't want to go out to the boroughs, I get it. It's going to be very, very small. It's going to be old. It's probably going to be in a pre-war walk-up building. But if you go to another city, or even if you just go maybe 40 miles north of New York, well, a $3,000 one-bedroom apartment is going to get you in a really nice luxury building with a gym, with a pool, with a whole theater room, and probably, 750 square foot for a one bedroom. So I get it, trust me. And over time, that can kind of grind you down. So I would say to match that quality of life, right? If you want one bedroom, 750 square feet, you want to have a pool in the building. What's it called? If you want to have, a gym in the building, you're probably going to need to double that budget at least. So you're probably going to need to spend, $6,500 to $8,000 on that one bedroom apartment if you want those, to maintain that quality of life in terms of the amenities in the building and all that. So I get it, but the opportunities that New York provides is really unrivaled, I believe, than any other city. There's just so many job opportunities here. Vivian says I rented in Long Island for much less. Oh, totally, yeah. But again, that's the thing. You got to kind of have to factor that in to the quality of life. Like, I'm from Long Island, right? So yeah, you can get cheaper rent, but then you got to commute on the Long Island Railroad, and doing that every day can be a little bit of a grind. I get it. I used to wake up and get the 5:45 train from Massapequa Park, haul all the way into the city. Doing that every day over, 5 years or even the course of a working life, I get it. It's tough. So I can feel sympathy for both sides. I understand where people are coming from for sure. $65, so $7K a month in rent, grossed up is $110K per year. That's if you want that quality of life, right? You want to have a doorman, you want to have a gym, a pool, all that in your building. You can totally get less, spend less, but if you're going to have a family and if you're going to have kids, you probably don't want to live in a little shoebox thing. Barris says the cost of living in LA is not much different than New York City. And it's unfortunately probably going to get a lot more expensive in and around the LA area because it's, we had those horrible, horrible fires. I mean, that's just the most heartbreaking thing ever. Seeing some of the video and the photos of the destruction from the LA fires, I mean, I just don't even understand how people are going to recover from that. It's so heartbreaking. Glendis is where is the cheapest place to live in the New York City area. Well, look, if you're talking about New York City is a very big place. You can get very, very, very cheap rent if you go all the way out to Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, Staten Island. But again, it's like you're going to be deep. You're going to be very, very far. What was that? So New York City, we have 5 boroughs here. You can get affordable-ish rent, but you're not going to be living in Manhattan. You can get affordable rent in Manhattan, but the quality of that product is not going to be good product. And the building is probably going to have roaches, and it's going to have rats. Like, I've lived in these buildings before. We all have, right? Which is fine. If you're moving here and you're young, let's say if you're just graduated college, you're in your early 20s, you just got a job, get a junky apartment and just go to work and save your money and then get something better. But the problem is, and I think from one of the comments that I was reading, or some of the comments that I'm reading here, is, as you get older, and if you're still in that price range of like $3,000 a month, well, if you're, 35 years old, 40 years old, the quality of life, living in a little shoebox, if that's not your thing, it kind of sucks. Hey, what's up, Trevor? Says, what do you consider to be cheap rent? Here in Florida, we are about to close on a 1,500 square foot, 3-bed, 3-bath townhouse for $1,800. Hey, that's awesome. Congrats, by the way. It's a huge, huge accomplishment. And I'm wishing you the best in your new home. Congrats. Well, Florida, if you want to talk about diversity in price, Florida is probably even more exacerbated than New York, right? Because New York State, you could buy a house, a 5-bedroom house for $85,000, right? If you go all the way upstate New York, like in Potsdam or something, right? But then you're going to be in a frozen tundra 9 months out of the year and pretty much in the middle of nowhere, right? So Florida is very different, right? I could go to Palm Beach and I could spend $25 million on something, or I could be, somewhere else in the Panhandle or something like that and get something very, very affordable. I mean, look what happened to Miami. Miami is very, very expensive now. But once again, congrats on your place. That's awesome. Hey, what's up, Daryl from Chicago? Cynthia says, hey, Tom, we're in a 2-bedroom duplex in Staten Island for $1,400 a month. It's small, but worked for a mother and daughter. 2-bedroom duplex is pretty cool. That seems like a good spot. $1,400 a month. You're definitely not going to get a 2-bedroom duplex in Manhattan for that. That's good. Speaking of Staten Island, we haven't been on the Staten Island ferry in a very, very long time. So hopefully the spring rolls around sooner rather than later. Sue Rollins says homes here in Columbus, Ohio are generally over $500,000. Glenda says, I lived in Miami for a while and I hated it. Way too humid and weird bugs. Yeah, it's true. If you don't like humidity, you're not going to like Miami. at all. That's a good point. But you know what's interesting? When I bought my place in Miami, I had all my friends trolling me that I'm going to have so many bugs and it's going to be crazy. I'm going to get all these palmetto bugs. I haven't seen one, not one bug. I don't know if that's because there's a ton of stray cats in my neighborhood. I don't know what it is, but I live very close to Sunny Isles Beach, and I have not seen one bug. I don't know why. But, to your point about the quality of life stuff, I think with my taxes, insurance, I think my monthly payment is right around maybe $2,300, something like that. But I have an entire home that I rent out on some land and about 5 minutes away from the beach. So, yeah, to get that kind of quality, you have your own outdoor space. You can hang out under the palm trees. I jump on the scooter. I'm 5 minutes away from the ocean. You're not going to find that for $2,300, in the city. It's difficult, or at least the quality of life. And also, about 1,700 square feet. I mean, especially now, I think I was kind of skimming through the comments. Somebody made a really good point talking about interest rates, right? If you think before we had this big inflation boom, right? Inflation, CPI kind of topped out here in the United States at 9.1%. And in order to kill off inflation, the Federal Reserve had to raise interest rates, right? Go through our huge hiking cycle. And interest rates shot up, and that means everything that's priced off of treasuries, like mortgage products and stuff like that, went up as well. So when I bought my place, my debt is 3%. I'm paying 3% money. Now, if somebody wanted to buy my house, not only would they have to pay double, almost exactly double what I paid for, if they needed to take on debt, they're looking at 7% money. So if you do the math, a $650,000 house or a $675,000 house, you put down 20% and you do the math with 7% money as opposed to 3% money, that is significant. So it's very, very difficult because we really haven't seen prices come down all that much, right? Now, we've had a little bit of a softening in the market, but generally speaking, prices haven't returned in terms of the prices of homes to where they were post-pandemic, right? They're still much, much higher than they were prior to the pandemic. So it's definitely tough. Below May 2008, says mortgage rates are still too high, roughly 8%. Yeah, and the most accepted conversation in real estate, right? Speaking in a big general sense, right? Speaking in a general sense is the following: interest rates and property valuations generally are negative, have a negative correlation. So as interest rates go up, pricing pressures come down. Again, the problem is prices haven't really come down all that much. That's the problem. And my thesis is that the Federal Reserve, to get us out of the 2008 financial crisis, left interest rates too low for too long, which is what we call a decade of ZIRP, zero interest rate policy. So you have so much debt outstanding, sub 4%. So if you're in a home right now, if you're paying, $2,200 a month for your mortgage, why would you sell your home and get out of your 3% interest rate when you would have to go right back into the market, probably pay double, have no increased standard of living, but just double your expenses? So that's kind of what we're seeing. So there's not a lot of new products coming on the market. And the majority of people who have purchased a home or a property, right, investment property, duplex, triplex, you name it, have fixed debt for 30 years, sub 4%. And I think that's what's really kept this market afloat, is because people just don't have to move, right? They want to sit on their cheap money. Hey, Brooklyn is here. What's going on? Lisette says, hi from Denver, Colorado. Denver is getting just as expensive. So Denver's a really, really good city. And I was actually considering moving to Denver for a split second. I really, really like Denver. And I was interviewing with this cybersecurity company, and the office that I would work in if I accepted the job was going to be in Denver. The company is Ping Identity. It's publicly traded under the ticker symbol PING, but Denver's a really, really nice town. I am a big fan of Denver, Colorado. 2 thumbs up for Denver. Yeah, Brad's brain. This is the new Treasury Secretary. Is interesting, talking gold standard, etc. Well, speaking of, guys, let's check in on our national debt. Our national debt is $35 trillion. Oof. 801 billion, 774,297,958 Now, your family's share, or my family's share, is $611,058. Jeez. What happened, guys? What happened to us? That's a lot. Yikes. Anyway. I know, I want to be a GMO, is that's all? Yeah, is that the best we can do, guys? Come on. Is that the best we can do? What's another 30 trillion? That's honestly the point it's gotten to, right? I mean, if we really think about it, you know, as a taxpayer, I pay taxes, you guys pay taxes, everybody in the chat pays taxes, right? It just seems like it's all cartoon, fake, made-up clown world. Now, right? We're speaking about things in trillions. I don't think many people just really understand how much money $1 trillion is, let alone $1 billion. You know, go on one of those visualization calculators, and it'll do like comparisons of just if you stacked $1 trillion to the sky, how long would it go? Like, it's insane. So at this point, it's like, what's another trillion? What's another 2 trillion? What's another 20 trillion? It's like nobody even really understands what any of this is anyway. It's ridiculous. Now, you know it's cold in New York City when you have all the boys over here hunkering down. These pigeons look absolutely frozen, and I feel really bad for them. They should go out and hang over one of those subway grates because it's just too freezing for them over here. Anyway, Mark Francis says the debt will never be repaid. I don't think so either. Elle says, do you think Canada will become the 51st state? Asking on behalf of the majority of Canadians. I don't think so, but if the vast majority of Canadians wanted to become Americans, I'm down. I always say I kind of view Canada as America anyway. It's like we're so similar in terms of like our customs and cultures, and you know, we're great allies. So why not? You know, make it easier on the Canadians to, I mean, if, you know, I'm down, but I would never want to force them to do it. But if the Canadians overwhelmingly wanted to do it, I'd say sure. I'd like to go back to Canada. I don't want to have to deal with any immigration. I just want to be able to go and travel as I wish. So my answer is I am fully accepting of Canada as the 51st state if the overwhelming majority of Canadians want to join America. I'm down. But on a realist note, no, it's never going to happen. And Mitch is not Quebec. We are on the corner of 43rd Street. I wonder what the outcome of that vote would be, by the way. Now, I'm not Canadian, I don't know. I don't really know the sentiment up there. But if every Canadian had to vote, yes or no, on becoming the 51st state, do you think the majority of Canadians would say yes, or do you think the majority of Canadians would say no? I say the majority of Canadians would say no. That's what I would say. That's my view. Almost everyone's saying no. Vivian says no. Lisette says no. I mean, it's, when you really think about it, it's kind of a ridiculous question. It's obviously no. Just like how, well, I'm just going to speak for myself. Like, I'm a very patriotic American. I love America. So if somebody said, do we want to make America Canada? I'd say F no. Hell no. Because you want, your country. That you want American culture, values. I don't want to be Canada. I want to be America. And the Canadians probably feel the same way. It's quite obvious to me. So. Now, I think the biggest downside about Canada, and I love Canada, huge fan of Canada, but they have nowhere to escape in the winter. This is something that's very, very subtly underestimated in America, and we should all be so thankful. We should all be so thankful to live in America, geographically speaking. If you want to go on a tropical vacation, if you want to live in a moderate climate, if you want to live in a freezing climate, if you want to live in a tropical climate, we pretty much have every single possible climate available to us Americans whenever we want. If you want to go skiing, you could literally jump on a plane and go skiing at any time of the year. If you want to go to the beach, well, just jump on a plane and go to Key West or Miami Beach, right? If you want to go hiking, go wherever there's good hiking. LA. If you want to be in the desert, go ahead and go to Nevada. So, in Canada, you just have to freeze. You have to suffer through the winter. So we have a very, very, just our country, right? Just the landmass that we have is so, it's invaluable. You can't even put a number on it. Black Wolf says, or like California wanting to separate. I think that'd be really, really terrible for the country. California is an absolute economic powerhouse. The economy of the state of California is bigger than the entire economy of many countries on this earth. So California is really, really an invaluable asset to this country, and I would never want to even entertain the idea of, California spinning off and doing their own thing. That'd be a huge loss. I think a lot of those conversations spark from like the far right and the far left, like normal, reasonable, sensible people. No state wants to break off of any other state. It's like, we're chilling here as the USA. People will get over their differences. This is now 7th Avenue. This is California is amazing in many ways. And I've never been. I really want to get out to California. Now, we passed Salesforce Tower a little while ago, and Salesforce, that's a very interesting company. I'd say my favorite tech CEO of all time, many people would say, is Steve Jobs. I actually say it's Mark Benioff. I'm a huge Mark Benioff fan. I would suggest reading his book, Trailblazer. It's very, very good. But that stock, as all of this DeepSeek nonsense was going down, you notice how Salesforce was totally bucking the trend and going higher and hitting new all-time record highs. You notice how Alphabet, Google was doing the same thing, and you notice how Meta was doing the same thing. To me, that was the market saying that the companies that are going to win and that are ready to weather the storm and that are kind of isolated from the semiconductor wars, so to speak, are companies who house tons and tons of data. And Salesforce, if you haven't noticed, I'm sure everybody in this chat, well, maybe not everybody, a majority of you probably know Salesforce, have used it in your job or something like that. The amount of data that Salesforce has on their platform is unbelievable. Just unreal, right? And data is the lifeblood of AI to train these models. And so is Meta. Meta and Mark Zuckerberg knows more about me than me, okay? So that's something to keep in mind as all of this, DeepSeek craziness kind of settles down. The companies who have the most amount of data, the market is assigning them winners. Oh man, it's getting even colder out here. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We do these streams almost every day starting at 8:45. George says, Tom, how can the quality of life improve in Manhattan in 2025? I think the biggest point, like if I'm just speaking for myself, it would be to clean up the subways. That would be probably the top number one for me. That you can change, right? Because obviously I always bitch and complain about the weather. That's just me being a diva. There's nothing I can do about the cold. You just got to power through it. But I do complain about it. That's what I would say. The numerous issues on the subway that I've had to endure in 2024, it's gotten to the point where it's like, it's annoyingly, every time you get on the train, it's something. It's just something every time. It's gotten down to the point where it's like, can I just have one train ride where I could just chill and just not have to be looking over my shoulder at all times? Can I just have one day where I can chill out? Reggie 44 says drama and dangerous. The overwhelming majority of the time you're not going to have an issue. But it's just like, and it's mostly just homeless people fighting each other over drugs. But it's like, my God, like I don't want to get involved in that. It's just exhausting. And the smoking cigarettes and the smoking weed and the drug use on the trains is exhausting too. Because it's like, then you got to move to the next car. Everybody's packed into the car. So just bring back law and order in the trains. Just get these people out of there so you just don't have to worry and you can just ride the train normally. But besides that, the city's great. It's just, because think about it. It's 16 degrees out, guys. This winter I've noticed a crazy uptick in, I'd say, pandemonium going on in the subway. But I'm thinking about it, like doing a post-analysis. It's freezing this winter. Like, where else are, homeless population going to go? They're not going to stay up on the street level. They're going to go down and ride the trains all day to stay warm. I get it. Like, I understand. This is the new Pen 2 project. Like, I would say, honestly, this Pen 2 project has improved the quality of life in the Penn District by far. It really has. New modern infrastructure. There's a lot more security here. This is awesome. The Pen 2 project gets a 10 out of 10. It's great. The subways here are fine. Everything is modern. Pen 2 is fantastic here. It looks like how New York is supposed to look like, or how you would imagine it. Modern city, great infrastructure. So more of this, I would say. And there's the new entrance to Madison Square Garden. Quin's Montreal subway is great. I would love to travel to Montreal. I've never been. Quinn, now isn't it true that one of the most scenic train rides is from New York City to Canada on the Amtrak train? It's like one of the most scenic and beautiful train rides in the world. Alright, I'm going to take you guys down into the new station just to kind of keep warm here for a minute. And it really looks great down here. Everything is brand new.
Yo, John, we're gonna go to West Village too.
You know, Raising Cane's is really expanding like crazy in Manhattan. All right, everyone. I think I may end it early tonight because I have a final walkthrough on a deal early in the morning at 8 a.m. So thank you all for joining, and JC, thank you so much for your 100 ZAR donation. I will indeed grab a warm drink. But thanks everyone for joining. We will be live tomorrow at 8:45. If you enjoyed the stream, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. And we will see you all tomorrow talking about the markets. A look ahead. Should be a pretty volatile week, if I do say so myself. So Jalson, thank you so much. Tatted T, Glenda, Muhammad, Quinn, Bobby B, the joyful one, Alan, thank you so much. Mark Francis, Sue Rollins, Big Spark, Tortellini, Dale, Troy Atman, thank you so much. Legacy, Timmy Walsh, once again, appreciate it. All right, guys, Crow Dog, take care.